Welcome back to the Isn't That Rich podcast. I'm your host, Jill Franks, and I'm joined by my co-host, Ashley McVicker today, and we are talking about event insurance. So whenever you are planning a wedding or fundraisers or any other kind of corporate event, this is something you might not think of including in your planning, but insurance for that event is really crucial, and we're going to talk all about that today.
Yes, we've got our coworker from FSB Insurance with us, Miss Debbie Glasgow, and she has been in insurance for quite a while. So I'm very interested to hear all about event insurance and what people need to learn today. So welcome on, Debbie.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
So like Ashley mentioned, you've been in the insurance world for quite a while. Why don't you give us a little bit of history about your insurance experience and what brought you to Farmers State Bank Insurance?
Well, I was actually a stay-at-home mom. And so I started getting ready to go through a divorce. I was like, okay, I got to get a job. So I called a family friend of mine that was in the insurance business, and she hired me as a clerical. And within, I think it was 8 months, I had my insurance license and then started doing just strictly commercial insurance. So from there, I worked there for 12 years. And then went to another agency for 4 years and then another one for 12 years. And now I'm at FSB Insurance. So I've been here for about 1.5 years.
Yeah, and we're super glad to have you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sounds like you've got a lot of experience under your belt.
I've got quite a bit.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have you done a lot of event insurance policies?
I've done my fair share, yes.
Probably done a lot of insurance policies, I imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Well, awesome. Debbie, we're going to get started. So can you start by just telling us what event insurance is and why someone would need it?
Okay. Your event insurance would actually cover you individually, you as a business or individually for any of your guests. So it would be like a slip and fall, or if they cause damage to the venue property, that's where that policy comes into play. It just protects you individually.
So you mean if I were to be a bride and I was going to have a wedding at, say, a farm somewhere around here, that I would want to protect myself as well. And this is different insurance from like the venue.
Correct.
Per se. Okay.
Correct.
And so that just gives me an extra layer of protection?
Correct. It does.
Okay. Makes sense.
So what type of events need event insurance? Because are there some that maybe don't?
I would,
maybe a birthday party at the park, you don't. I don't know, though.
I don't know.
We're going to talk about it.
We're going to talk about that. It's anything that you have spectators or you have, attendees, you should actually look into event insurance, whether it be a birthday party, a bull riding event. I've had one of those in my past. So anything like that, as far as your Christmas parties, your car shows, it can go into a lot of different venues, concerts.
Yeah.
Does it matter if the event is paid or unpaid? So like if you're charging people to come to the event or not charging people?
It does. It can affect that. They do ask about revenues depending on if it's a paid event. If it's just, usually they're based on the number of attendees, and then they just ask you if you're collecting money for that.
Gotcha.
So like a fundraiser, that type thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So weddings, birthday parties, rodeos.
Definitely a rodeo. Definitely. There's probably a lot of other insurance you have to have for that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
I would, as an insurance agency, I would wonder about those rodeos. Do you even want to insure something like that?
I'm not sure I would do that.
There are special companies for that.
There would have to be for sure.
Yes.
So lots of different types of events to have insurance for. What are some common misconceptions about event insurance?
From a homeowner standpoint, they do offer, you can extend your liability over for an event. Well, that affects, if you had a claim, that actually affects your homeowner's policy. So that counts against you. So what you want to do is actually take out that special event policy that takes that liability away from your homeowner's policy in a possible claim. In this day and age, it's hard to find insurance if you have a claim, and put that onto one policy. And that could include your host liquor too.
Oh my goodness. So I'm going to have this birthday party at my house, and so I should take out a separate policy for that event.
Should.
Because it could do damage for me against my homeowner's policy.
Correct.
And it might not cover everything, my homeowner's policy.
It might not cover everything. Correct.
That's a good...
So what does that mean? Does that mean your your homeowner's insurance is going to go up?
It can.
You're like,
in the
your
event
premium
of a
might
claim.
go up?
It can. Yes, they look at those every year.
Dang.
Yeah.
I don't want that to happen.
Exactly. And especially if there's liquor involved. You know, that's the big thing.
Can you explain the difference between like a venue's insurance policy and then you having your own individual policy? Why does there need to be two different ones if the venue already has insurance?
The venue has insurance to cover themselves and to cover any damage maybe caused by a tornado or a flood or, you know, that type of thing, fire. But they don't have coverage that would actually cover you as an individual coming in and having a party there. What that would do is they will file a claim on your policy, the event policy, to cover any property damage.
Yeah.
I didn't even think of that. Like that, you know, you think when you go somewhere that you should just be covered, but especially if you're paying to have an event in that space, you think that that's part of the package deal, but it really isn't.
It really isn't.
So you have to look out for yourself in those instances as well. And so as a individual having an event at a venue, what are some things that policy covers?
That would actually, as an individual, that would cover property damage. So if any of your guests cause any damage to any property of the venue, that would be covered. It's also it could be slip and fall. If one of your guests was dancing and they fell, it would cover their medical expenses up to whatever the policy limit is.
But what? Okay, tell me this, Debbie. If so-and-so's busting a move, why isn't their insurance so if I fell,
Correct,
going crazy, I broke my arm, why isn't my health insurance going to cover that? Because I hurt myself. Or will it?
It could.
It could.
It
sounds like an insurance
It sounds like a claim question. It could, but along with that's why the special event policy has usually around $5,000, $10,000 med pay to cover those expenses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, and then this day and age where everyone's suing everybody.
Seems like you want to have coverage from like every angle.
You know, maybe your dance floor had a chip out of it and then somebody could sue. You know, there's just different.
Right, like they'll just find a way.
They will find a way, definitely.
So the more protection, the better, it sounds like.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
So liability coverage seems to be the most talked about component. Can you explain what is included in that?
In the liability portion?
Yes.
Now that would actually, it would still be the same. It would be the property damage and the, like the slip and fall. That's what liability is.
Okay.
Now it wouldn't cover, trying to think, there are endorsements that you can add on to the policy to cover different things, which I think we'll go into that a little bit later, but that liability is just basically slip and fall and property damage on that part.
Gotcha. So if you're getting a policy for an event, what typically is included in that is the property damage and the slip and fall stuff. Kind of nothing else. It's just those
bodily injury.
Bodily injury and property damage is what your typical event policy is.
Correct.
And then you talked about endorsements, and we'll get into that later.
Yes.
So there's other things, like if you are going to have other kind of liabilities at your event, you have to add on. Okay. That makes sense. So what is cancellation or postponement coverage? Because I've heard about this, you know, how is that essential for a policy like this for an event?
For now, say I'll use a concert as an example because that's one that I was involved in locally. So if that was actually we had a performer who was known for not showing, you know, so you go into that as far as a no-show, there would be coverage for that, for the lost income, lost revenue from the tickets, lost revenue from the sales of the food, anything like that that's associated with that concert, then there would be coverage for that.
Oh my gosh, I didn't even think of that. So you're having, and somebody doesn't show up, like what do you do as a venue? Like how do you reimburse all these people for the ticket sales you've already sold? And there's so much of that. So
and then with cancellation insurance, that's also can be like the venue had a fire. You can't have the venue there. You can't have that there. It will help pay for finding another venue, that type of thing.
Or if like you're having an outdoor event and there's extreme weather, like there's we have that all the time here. big rainstorms come through or tornadoes come through, things like that. Does that cover that under that instance for cancellation?
That can under the cancellation. There's also rain insurance.
Oh, you're kidding me.
There's rain insurance. So what that actually would be like, you would you're having an outdoor celebration, a festival, a party, whatever that might be. You gauge, okay, if we have 3 inches of rain, we won't be able to have the event. It has to fall within, you have to pick a limit of rain, not for it to take place.
Oh my goodness.
And that's what rain insurance is.
Okay. So does that cover lightning strikes and stuff? Like if you have to cancel your event?
No, that's lightning insurance. Duh. And there's thunder insurance too.
This is just for the rain. Yeah.
Okay.
How much does a rain insurance policy cost?
I haven't done in a long time. So I don't know. I think it's determined by the number of attendees and probably how much rain is going to fall.
Oh my!
So I'm thinking like if you were going to have fireworks, a big firework production, maybe you'd want to get event insurance and then a rain policy, right? Am I
correct? That would probably be a great idea.
Insurance.
Yes,
I can get recommendations.
You could.
Okay, so we're talking about all these different policies. And we've talked about damage to a property and then bodily injury.
Correct.
Tell us about if something gets stolen. Is that covered under your event insurance, or is that another add-on?
That is another add-on to your event insurance. Wow. Correct. So that would be if like the gifts were stolen, damaged. I'm going towards a wedding right now. So
like decorations.
Decorations. There's an endorsement for like your personal property. There's endorsements for the dresses, for if something would happen and they were damaged, jewelry, if it was stolen.
Yeah. That no one's going to steal that card box. That box full of cards with all your money in it. Yeah.
Your dollar dance box, maybe. It'd be devastating.
But that's so true. I mean, I've been to some events where there have been some rowdy guests at weddings or whatnot, and I've seen some damage done. Tables flipped over, broken, not on purpose. They're just having a good time.
They're having a good time.
So you'd have to buy or add an endorsement on to your policy. Is that how it works, or is that a separate?
For
the damage.
That would fall under your liability with the event liability insurance. Okay. So that's property damage.
Okay.
Yep.
So it sounds to me like we get this basic policy and then you sit with your agent and it's like, let's just talk about the event head to toe and see what we need to add endorsements on, right?
That's always my suggestion is sit down with your agent, go over everything that's going to be happening there, whether it be you're going to have entertainment, what kind of entertainment, are you serving the alcohol or are you selling the alcohol? I mean, there's different ways to look at an event.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think we're about to talk about alcohol and insurance. I feel like that's the biggest one.
Yeah. I mean, when you have an event, that's a big part of celebrations in our culture. And it seems to complicate a lot of things.
It does.
So why does serving alcohol at events require special attention when it comes to insurance? Can you talk about policies, serving alcohol or purchasing alcohol versus serving it, if there's any difference in policy, all that good stuff?
Okay. So when you're just hosting an event and you're serving to your guests, that is considered host liquor liability. They're not having to purchase a drink, or you're not getting anything for that. When when you're selling liquor, then that's actually a liquor liability policy. So those are the two separations between one you're selling and one you're serving.
Okay. I am hosting the event, or I'm having a wedding at the farm still, right? And I want to hire a vendor to come in and sell alcohol. I need to get host liquor insurance.
Host liquor, and then you need for them to actually present to you a copy of their certificate of insurance showing that they have liquor liability coverage.
Okay.
What if Jill was charging for the liquor? Then does she need liquor liability, or she just needs host liquor liability?
She can have a special event liquor liability policy.
Okay.
Maybe you should just get both.
Or all three. Because you think about all the people coming into play now. So you have the farm itself probably has to have some type of insurance for the liquor, right? Or need proof of that insurance.
Need proof of that insurance.
Okay.
If they're not involved in that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you need the vendor who needs their liquor Tell me again what the vendor needs.
A certificate of insurance.
Certificate of insurance. And then you need the host insurance. Okay. Lots of layers
That covers
to this.
everybody.
And then everybody should be covered. So say something does happen. There's an alcohol-related incident. What should the insurance or the event organizer do? So what should I do if there is an event? Like, what is my steps to take? I've purchased this policy. What do I do?
Okay. Automatically, then, when you get that policy, take a look at it, go over it with your insurance agent. There should be a claims number on there that you would call. If you can't, then call your agent as soon as you can to report the claim. And that way we get that in a timely manner and they can get going on that.
So you would call the agent that sold you the policy.
The policy.
And have your claim number there.
Correct.
Okay.
Well, they would actually call in probably to the company to get your claim number. So I wouldn't be able to provide you one, but the company would.
Okay.
So if someone's wanting to sign up for event insurance, what do they need to bring you?
They need to bring me their name, address, type of event that they're having, how many attendees will be there, the dates of the event, probably, is there any entertainment? Is liquor being sold or served? All of those fun questions.
We talked a little bit about this before the show. So we talked about special events. Say you're having a festival for multiple days, or you're having a seasonal event, for the fall or the spring or whatever it is. Can you purchase event insurance for multiple days at a time?
You can. There are companies there that will actually, I have vendors that they're doing 3 or 4 shows a year. And so we can actually tailor that policy to them for 3 to 4 shows a year. And that's what they pay premium on. Or we can do just a 1-day event.
Okay. And then you can say you did a 1-day event and you could purchase a policy for each day. Would people do that?
You could.
Okay. But it wouldn't be as probably cost effective. Okay. Well, that kind of brings me to the next question. So people are getting married. They know their wedding date. They know their venue. How far in advance do they need to be purchasing their insurance?
The earliest that you can, the better. Now, as far as when you get into a rain event, if you're doing rain cancellation, that actually needs to be at least 15 days prior. So it can't be like the day before and it's going to come a downpour.
Yeah.
So you're going to take out a policy.
Hey, Debbie. Hey, Debbie, I know it's going to rain tomorrow. I need to cancel my event. Now I'm going to buy my insurance. It's got to be farther enough in advance.
Correct.
So more than 15 days.
More than 15 days.
For the rain.
Yep, for the rain. Now, the event insurance, that can actually be the day before on most events.
Really? Okay.
That's good.
Well, that's good to know because that's, as a bride, that's the last thing you're thinking about. And then you're covering your butt.
You're covering, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
what are some factors that can affect the price of event insurance? Or is it kind of just same year round? Like it doesn't really matter? Are all the policies different, I'm assuming?
Or like a festival versus a wedding versus
Right. And that would be because it's the number of attendees. You're looking at your wedding, you may have 250, 500 people. You're going to a festival, you could have thousands of people.
Right.
So, it would go under that, definitely. And a festival usually runs for a week to, a long weekend.
Do you know what the most expensive event insurance you've ever done is?
It was probably close to $10,000 or $12,000.
That's what they paid for the policy.
And what kind of an event was that? Can you share?
It was a concert event.
It was a concert. It'd be worth it to have insurance for that, I think.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Pay more for that.
Yeah.
And did they use any of it? Do you know? Do you remember?
No, they did not.
I imagine in one of those scenarios, if something happened to the venue, that'd be a nice policy to have.
Exactly.
Then you'd be like, thank God I have insurance. That's when people say that.
Correct. Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Debbie, so we kind of talked about the concert and some of your policies that you've had. What are some real life experiences or examples of how event insurance has helped someone in a major financial setback?
There was one in particular that stands out that was actually, they had bull riding at their event, plus hot air balloons. I think that was the same event, the same time. And they actually had one of their employees was actually injured on the bull. So the first call they made was to us to say, hey, this is what happened the next morning. You know, how can you help us out?
Yeah.
And that's when we get the information and do all that for them. But that was one that stands out. And another one is a wedding event. And they actually, one of their guests was highly intoxicated and left the venue and caused an accident and actually hurt someone else. So that's where that, you know, would come into play.
Yeah.
And those are the kinds of things that you don't want to see, but you're glad that you were able to help them out to get the insurance in order to cover that, because otherwise they would have been sued individually.
Right. My gosh.
I know we talked about if, like a no-show. Okay. But let's say you're having a concert. What if the venue cancels on you? How does your event policy, does that cover you?
It can, depending on the endorsements that you have on the policy.
Okay.
The venue would actually have their own policy for if it was an entertainer that was coming in, you know, in case they canceled. If it was something that you were sponsoring or you were probably the event organizer and you had that policy, that would actually cover you also. So between the two of you.
Okay.
So the venue would have one and then you would have one.
And somehow you would be made whole through that. Okay. Between the two. Good to know.
What if well, I don't know though. I'm asking this question. I feel like I know the answer, but surely a venue would always have insurance, right? Wouldn't they have to have a insurance policy to operate?
You hope so. Yes.
Yeah, you hope so.
Yes.
I love to
hope so.
You hope they have insurance.
Yeah. But if they didn't, what would you do in that instance? You know, the venue doesn't have the insurance, but you as an individual took out that policy. Are you still covered on most things? It's
just for the bodily injury. Just for the bodily injury and for the liability for like a slip and fall type situation. Yes, that you caused injury to. So say you left a cord across the floor, you know, that type thing. Someone tripped on it. That's your liability because you actually did that, not the venue.
Right, you added that cord.
Man, it's sticky.
It is.
I actually feel like, though, that I think insurance is hard to comprehend in lots of ways, and this is probably the most, I think this makes sense to me the most. Like, it's just this basic policy, and then you've got all these add-ons, and you just need to talk to your agent, and they'll figure out what you need to do.
Definitely.
And tell you if someone's going to trip on a cord, right?
Definitely, yes. Conversation with your agent. That's the best and first. That's what I would do first, definitely.
Yeah, and I sometimes think that as I'm getting a policy, I just want not to have the conversation. I want it to be quick, and I just want you to give me it. But the more you disclose, the safer you're going to be, it sounds like. The more that you can disclose ahead of time to your agent, they can make sure that the policy is exactly what fits your event.
Correct. Yes.
If you can leave our listeners with one piece of advice for event insurance today, what would that be?
Definitely take it out. Definitely talk to your insurance agent. Go with the pros and cons to see what, is it something that some people can't do it because of the value. Get that, but they're usually about $250. They go up
not bad
from there, and it's not bad for a 1-day, 2-day event.
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure.
But definitely see your agent.
Yeah, it's worth the conversation at least.
It is.
Definitely. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been very insightful. So thanks, Debbie.
Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah.
We'll see you next week. So, Jill, where do we go from here?
Be sure to check out our show notes for this episode, and also be sure to follow us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.